I grew up with a massive dysfunctional belief that I needed permission to speak. And it kind of looked like this. Someone would be sitting there and you just stand very attentively waiting for your moment, and they would be annoyed that you're standing there waiting for a moment. You get your moment, and then they just sit back and said, okay, so know that you've been waiting, so talk. And I'm sure you would understand at that moment, in your mind, you're like, well, you're not really listening to what I have to say. And then you don't say it. And then that little voice that you have just gets smaller and smaller and smaller and disappears. And then you grow into an adult, and then you want your voice to be heard, and you severely overcompensate. The purpose of this space is to create a very safe environment for people to share a moment of their lives.
Welcome, everyone, to Agree or Disagree, the podcast. Of course, this is the controversial podcast that pushes you to think differently and connects with you, with your community. We meet every Wednesday and Thursday on Spreaker.com, Kevole. You can also check it out on Podbean, Kevole, SoundCloud.com, Kevole, Facebook, add me as a friend on Facebook, Kevin Olenek. Like Agree or Disagree the podcast on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter at Kevole, Patreon Kevole, subscribe on YouTube Kevin Olenek, and Instagram Kevole. And our topic today is really about story. And everyone has a story. You have a story. I have a story. We all have a story. We all have our successes and our failures, our triumphs and our defeats, those stories that make us smile and laugh, those stories that make us think, the stories that make us learn from our lessons. What is your story? Are you open to sharing it? Can we learn from it? The answer to that is actually probably yes. But we also live in a world where we're distracted by this and that and the other thing. And you may not feel that there is a safe place to share that vulnerable side of you. Our guest today wants to share that space. He is the host of My Story Mondays. His name is Winston Yeung. He is an inventor, mentor, master storyteller, and transformational coach who is changing the world one student at a time. A definite people person, he has listened to many stories and now provides a way for people to share their stories and elevate themselves while inspiring others. And it is you can see that on Monday nights on Shaw Cable 4, or if you're in the Vancouver area, you can stop by and check it out. Winston, welcome today to Agree or Disagree the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Maybe let's start. Thanks for being on. And let's start with, how did My Story Monday start?
It started off as a little daydream back in summer of 2016. Or actually 2017, I was connecting with a men's group brother via a video call, and I just spaced out when I came back. He goes, what did you just think about? And I said, I had a daydream where I'm walking up on stage, I'm holding a mic, I get on stage, I see bright lights, smiling faces. And he said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to tell a story. And from that moment, it blossomed into an idea that didn't let go, and I proceeded to go find a venue and make it real. And we're in our second year.
So yeah, this is the second year of My Story Mondays. Was it? So what do you remember about the first time you tried this? Like when
This is the first year of My Story Mondays. I did it under license under a different brand last year, and learned from it. I learned a lot about myself, about community, about the diversity that's out there.
but primarily that a lot of people uh, have we have a lot of similar life experiences. Like
Hmm.
we all struggle, no matter how successful that person is. They have issues. We might judge them that their life is perfect. It's not. It really isn't. And then when they open up and they say, you know what, as much as I believe that I have everything, I really am missing this.
Hmm.
Or it might look great on the outside, but when you get a glimpse of what they're going through, sure, they might have more, you know, more prestige or more dollars, zeros in their bank account or bigger house or whatever. But at the end of the day, the struggles are more or less the same, and being able to connect with that, I think, makes a difference.
One of the things that you were talking about that you shared a bit is by doing this, you've been able to connect with some communities that you may not have been able to without that. Can you talk about that? You talked about being able to connect a bit different with the LGBTQ community and some other areas. Can you talk a little bit about how being a host of this show has opened some doors for you in terms of learning?
Yeah, sure. I've As a host, and I connect with every speaker before they take the stage to learn about them and so understand their background. And from that, I was introduced to people from the LGBTQ community, people that have hidden chronic or invisible chronic illness, disabled people, uh, and as an able-bodied, atypical straight male,
Hmm.
it we I grew up in a very, I'll call it a sheltered world. That we walk through life thinking that this is it, and not necessarily blind to what else is out there, but we really don't have any reason until we stumble into it to enter into that world.
Hmm.
If I break my leg and I'm in a wheelchair, now I'm disabled for a while. Now I have to go rehabilitate and be with other disabled people. But going through and connecting with people at a slightly deeper level than just being deeper than a surface level really allowed me to get a glimpse into their world and open up my awareness that, wow, there's people all around me that, let's say, they have arthritis, chronic arthritis through their body. You look at them, they look perfectly normal, or they might have seizures, like epilepsy. They look perfectly normal, but they are going through their own struggles, and they might be facing with depression just like we are. But just because they look normal doesn't mean that they aren't having they're holding it all inside themselves as well. So being able to connect with them and have a discussion really helps.
Hmm. Yeah, and when I met you, that was something that you really talked a lot about, is that power of that connection and that discussion and that space. And you have created, kind of talk about the space that you create for the audience in My Story Mondays, because I think that that's one of the things that I think is, amongst everything else that what I was doing the research on, I think the space that you're creating for this is, I don't want to say it's unique, but it's almost a reminder of where we're going. So talk to us a little bit about sort of the expectations around the audience in My Story Mondays.
Well, the basis of the, the space I'm creating is I grew up in, well, a lot of us have grown up waiting for permission to speak, and then you're waiting attentively, and then when someone says, "Okay, you've been waiting, I'm here, say what you have to say," and with that type of attitude, you, you hear that and you really don't believe this person is going to listen to you, and then you don't say what you have to say, and you keep that message inside. So what I what I've done is create a space where people are given the permission to speak, and then the audience, I ask them to be present for them and to really understand that they are sharing an authentic, vulnerable moment of themselves to inspire you and maybe connect with you and make you understand that you're not alone. And
Yeah.
so everyone in that room understands each other, and then it's not me sitting here and then there's a stranger beside me. I am now open to just turning to my left or right and saying hi to somebody. What do you think about that? And having that discussion, and not stick your face into a cell phone and isolate yourself because you're anxious, you don't want to talk to anyone. The space is very open and welcoming to connect with new people.
Yeah. And it's good. Yeah. And that's also good. And also, I think the other thing that is really impressive with that too is you do remind people that some of the topics that are discussed there are a bit intense, or can be triggering, or can be uh, all of those things, and to allow yourself that space to either take a moment to reflect on that, or be out of that, or if you're uncomfortable with that, it's okay to be uncomfortable with that, and respect that time. So, and that space for them as well.
Yes, there's a lot of people, myself included, for the longest time, don't want to deal with those emotions. Like if you're triggered and you don't feel good, I would go and you go have a drink or a few drinks and you numb it. You don't express it and you don't process it. This space allows you to get uncomfortable with yourself and realize that that other person has been equally as uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
now has found a way to deal with it and to work with it.
Hmm.
Gives you hopefully a bit of courage or insight that, hey, this person can get out. Maybe I can go and ask them later and ask them how they did it, what their struggles were, was it really ugly, and what happened when they got out. And that's the key point of that is I went through hell and I want to help people get out. But if you don't resonate with my story, somebody else's story might click with you, and then they can give you that courage to take that first step.
So you have on your website, you can apply to speak. Talk about the application process of speaking, and then we'll get into some of your favorite stories from speakers.
The application process, I contact and I speak to every applicant. I'm really opening the stage for regular people. I'm not looking for professional speakers that are speaking about their polished story. I'm looking for the part of themselves that is real. I've had I've had speakers that have attended my show, professional speakers attend the show with the intention to speak, and then come up to me later and say, "I'm not qualified to speak at your show because you're asking me to speak about something I've never spoken about before." When I ask them what that is, they go, "You're asking me to speak about my imperfections
Hmm.
versus my perfection," which is what they usually go on the speaking tour and speak about. And that is something that has stuck with me, and that's what I asked for. I'm not asking about uh, what you do and pitching and selling and preaching. I'm asking for a moment that that you believe can inspire someone to take that first step to become a little bit better than where they are now.
Yeah, it's interesting because the people, like from my side, that I wouldn't call them professional speakers, but I mean, I thought that their stories were really powerful, and what they did, what they shared was really important and very valuable. I think, and that's really an interesting thing, is it's you and I just sharing our own stories. I always liked what Brené Brown said about the TED Talks. She always called it the failure conference. I sort of see this kind of the same way. Telling our stories is a little bit of that failure conference, or that maybe more than that in that sense, but that kind of that idea. What are some of your favorite stories that you've heard from speakers?
If someone asked me to go through 100 odd speakers I've had, one that um, one I always bring up that was very powerful was Jay Lean Time. Uh, Spoke about her decision to come out, and she is a and spoke about the decision of transgender. And me, when I heard that, and I've listened to that story so many times, it's powerful, it's real, and it really goes gives you a glimpse of the world and that really a lot of people don't have access to, and the thought processes and the decisions and the life and how you change.
Hmm.
That to me sticks out as a big one. Then also the people that come up on stage and release 10, 20, 30, 40-year-old secrets that they've held inside. Just last month, one of the speakers shared finally a 40-year-old secret of being abused.
Tonight, I'm going to be letting go of a nasty secret that I've been keeping for over 40 years. The secret... thank you. The secret I'm going to reveal to you... I'm just going to do this instead. Sorry. The secret I'm going to reveal to you today is very dark, but I promise you it ends in a positive light. I promise you will get through it, and I will get through it, and we'll be okay. Between the ages of 5 and 16, my dad often sexually abused me, physically, emotionally, and mentally abused me as well. My mom and my sister did not know to the extent of what happened to me.
And how he transcended that and forgave the person that abused him, and what he learned from that process, and now he gives back to the community by doing what he does. So there's just every speaker that has taken the stage, I have personally learned something from. That is the gift that's given to me. There's nothing that a speaker can share that I can't consider as new insight.
Yeah, that's really good. It's really good. Now, before the space that you have, let's get back to the space. Did you intentionally kind of think about, okay, you wanted a smaller space, or was this, okay, the venue that I have is what we have in Vancouver because it's kind of limited where we can go, or was there some thought behind where you went?
The truthful answer is, when I had that daydream and I decided to go do this, I actually envisioned that space.
Oh, really? Wow.
I saw the space in my mind. The irony of that is I worked in the nightlife industry, and I know a whole bunch of people that are promoters. I approached them first to get a venue. And then one day I just happened to be across the street from where it's held, walked inside, and then when I went through and opened the front doors and I saw it, I go, it has to be here. It really didn't. It matched up exactly what I saw. It wasn't the biggest space. It's not like I could grow to like a 200-person show in there, but it didn't matter. The space just felt perfect, and it had to be there. And along the way, all the pieces fell in perfect synchronicity to make it happen, and that's why we're there.
Cool. And where do you see yourself? How many people can fill in that? Can you fill in that space?
100 to 110 people is a very, very tightly packed in there.
Okay.
Had that before, and if you have as little as 30 people, it's still very cozy and welcoming. Now that we've put it on to Shaw Cable and then post up the videos on YouTube, it extends the audience beyond that room. So in the past, I felt that I had to keep packing the room to get to get as many people to experience the message. Now I realize if I only have one person in the audience, at the end of the day, that message is going to get out to the world regardless. So it really changed my mindset as well.
Right. How did the process of getting on Shaw get? How did you get to that? Sounds like a cool story.
Well, a friend of mine does programming for Shaw, came to see my show and said, "Hey, I love what you're doing. I want to take this and propose it to Sean and get it on there." And I didn't believe that anyone would be really interested in doing that, but he did. Proposed it. They came back and we're doing a run in 2018.
Oh,
it seems to be going well.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. It's a kind of like it's a really good movement that you're starting there, and uh, that you're starting, which is great. Now, I imagine when you talk about My Story Mondays, you probably get one or two people that say, I could never tell my story, or I don't think my story is that important, and I don't think people would want to hear my story. And I really love what you do, Winston, but it's just not for me. How would you respond to that?
There's two sides. I personally run a workshop to help people get the story out of themselves after I convince them that they have a story. But the simple way I get that across is I go, okay, you think that you don't have a story to tell, but let's say we're going for a walk, and then I said, you know what, I'm just having a really bad time. Like the world's just crashing down on my head, and all these things are going wrong, especially this. And then you would come up and pat me on the shoulder, and you would say, you know what, Winston, I understand because, and that's the story. What you say next is the story. You have an experience that relates, that can resolve, provide a solution to what my problem is. And by the time you finish telling it, I'm out of this negative mindset that that I'm stuck in this rut. But you're like, hey, you're not stuck in that rut. I'm going to give you an example of what I went through, and it brightens my day. Gives me a bit of positivity that the world isn't that bad. And then when you realize that you've helped me, your spirits lift up as well. So it's a win-win situation that way. And everyone is full of unique stories because everyone sees the world through their own lens. There's nothing that you can see that is identical to what I saw. It's not possible. So your angle on the same issue, on the same problem, and how you resolve it is unique and it's valuable.
True. And so when you do the workshop for the speakers, what does that look like?
It's something that was started at the beginning of this year with Story Academy Vancouver, and right now it's just introducing people to 7 story types, and I sit down with them and go through how to take these stories that are inside of you, flush a few of them out, and explain how we can weave them together so you can tell your story with passion and confidence instead of just thinking like, my story is really boring. Well, if you took it and you framed it a certain way and then you structured it a certain way, when you tell it, it's very compelling. When people see that and you get that little, it's like teaching somebody, anything to somebody. When you get that spark in their eye and they believe it, that's it. That person's changed forever, and then now they go around telling their story.
Cool. So it helps them. Not only are you helping them for their moment on the stage for however long that they are, and how long typically is an average speech do you give them? Just
we give them 11 minutes.
Okay.
Not obligated to use all 11 minutes, but it's a long enough time that if you've never done it before, it feels like an eternity. And then once you're done, everyone comes back and said, "Wow, that didn't feel like 11 minutes at all. It felt so much faster."
Hmm. But so it's more of a like we're not throwing you. It's not like, all right, Kevin, you got to tell your story now. Good luck, right? You're taking people through a process to.
Yeah, like when they apply to My Story Mondays to speak, it's not about telling your whole life story. It's telling one moment of
Hmm.
your life, whatever that may be. I tell a story of me walking my dog and my dog interacting with a homeless person, and then me being aware of this whole interaction. The judgment came up and stuff like that. That's a story that a lot of people could relate to. So it's about things that you experience in your life. The workshop itself helps you become aware of these things,
Hmm.
and then you go from there. Trying to tell your life story in 11 minutes, you could do that. You don't have much of a life.
Yeah.
Together that quick.
Or you should be TED talking,
Yeah.
like at a high level. Yeah. How has this changed you? Like, where do you see the change in you?
It has every show that I've done, um, at the very beginning. We'll start there. When I couldn't put people in the seats, I really started to take it personally that it's me that they're not coming because of me, or I can't get people in the seats. I'm failing. And then as the show has progressed, I realized that the show isn't about me. The show is about the speakers. And then as time went on, it became more and more focused on that. The show has nothing to do with me. My role here is to facilitate or to hold the space and facilitate a moment for you, for anyone to share their message, and then take that message and then fire it off to the world to get as much impact as possible. But by interacting with all these different types of people from all walks of life has given me just a lot of compassion, a lot of awareness, and I used to be well, I used to be a narcissist, like a total asshole. You sit there and think that you're the biggest thing on this world, and now I sit there and I can sit there and just listen and take in what this person is gifting all of us, and just shut up for a while and just take it all in, and at the end of it, say thank you
Hmm.
for doing that, because I'm better off now than I was 11 minutes ago.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. So, tell us again when to find My Story Mondays. Where do we find it?
My Story Mondays is live every third Monday of every month at XY, which is at 1216 Butte.
Okay.
And then you can also see it on Shaw Cable Channel 4 every Monday night at 9:30 and 10 o'clock.
Okay. So they'll just replay. Just for those that are watching on Shaw, they replay the previous episode. So what you're going to be watching now is the March edition of My Story Mondays.
Well, right now, as we're still cultivating content, they are doing half-hour episodes. So it'd be 9:30 be one speaker, and then 10 o'clock would be a different speaker, and then every week a new speaker would be introduced.
Okay. Okay.
So it's not an show uh, that it's not an entire show that's repeated. So every week a new speaker is introduced.
Okay. And you can get tickets on My Story Mondays. Do you want to talk a little bit about the speakers for this next show?
Well, you caught me off guard because I'm I'm still putting that all together.
Oh, you are? Okay. Oh, because I saw. Okay. Nothing to tease on that. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the speakers are we're booking to July to August now, so there's a lot of interest to speak,
Okay.
and I invite anyone that wants to speak to apply. As I said, I have really no reason to not give you an opportunity, as long as you're not giving hate speech and trying to sell toilet paper or something like that. There's no reason why you wouldn't want to take that opportunity. And one of the biggest fears for a lot of people is public speaking, and being able to walk into a space where you feel welcome and that you're not feeling judged or people are waiting for you to make a mistake and laugh at you. And when you look out there, they're actually, all these eyes are laser focused and supporting you to get through all of it. It's a great feeling.
It sounds really good. What's one of the myths that you of public speaking that you feel that needs to be debunked?
That no one wants to listen to what you have to say. I went through that myself when I applied for a conference, and then I dropped my pen when I was writing what I wanted to say, because I thought, who wants to listen to this load of crap? It's so self-centered and egotistical. It's all about you. And I'll share how I overcame that. A good friend of mine, who I called to help me with this, said, someone's soul reached out to your soul to hear this message that you're about to share. And it doesn't matter if there's 1,000 people sitting out there or one person sitting out there. Someone soul wants to hear your message so they can go and get out of the situation that they're in. And when she told me that, I go, all the fear went out the window. I'm not talking to 1,000 people. I'm talking and sharing a message for one person to listen, and if more than one person is impacted by it, great. And I have shared that same message with a bunch of speakers that have come up to me. They go, Winston, I don't know if I'm ready. I'm not sure if I'm ready. Can I go last? I'm like, well, actually, you're going first.
Oh, surprise!
And when I tell them that, they really reframe this whole fear that no, there's someone out there that really wants to hear what you have to say, and it's not about perfection. It's not about how many times you stall. It's all about being authentic and vulnerable and real.
Cool.
And that's it.
Cool. Is there anything else we should talk about before we get to the 3 power questions?
I think we got covered just about everything.
All right.
And I really hope that everyone comes down and checks out the show.
Yes. Again, the address for that, again, is the XY. The venue address is 1216 Butte Street in Vancouver. And you can go on to mystorymondays.com if you want to apply to speak. There is a place for that, and there is a place where you can buy tickets as well. So check that out. The next one is on correct me if I'm wrong, April 16th?
Yes, April 16th.
Okay. Yes. So in a couple, in a few days here of this recording, you will be able to check that out. But now we are going to try something here. It's a new experiment here, Winston. So you got to kind of bear with me. Thank you for being a little bit of a guinea pig, but we are doing 3 power questions. And so the first question is, if you could live anywhere else other than this fine city, Vancouver, where would it be?
Italy.
Italy. Okay. Nice. Anywhere specific, or just, I'll take the country?
When I went on my first solo trip as an adult, I just rented a car and got lost. And it's just the food is great, the weather's great, and the people are super friendly. And I just love it.
Cool. You're about to go on a trip, and you're allowed to take one book. Which book would it be?
One book.
One book. Or author, if it's too tough. One author.
No, like that. What the first thing that pops to mind is I take my journal.
You do your own writing.
I do my own writing, so somehow I'm stuck on a desert island somewhere and I wither away, that hopefully someone can find that at least and figure out their way off that island.
Hmm. And the last one is, if heaven exists and you meet God at the pearly gates, whatever God looks like to you, what would be the first thing that you would want to hear from him?
Welcome.
Cool. Cool. Well, thank you. Those are 3 power questions. Again, you can follow me on Facebook, Kevin Olenek, Spreaker.com, Kvule, SoundCloud.com, Kvule, Instagram, Kvule, and Patreon, Podbean, etc., etc. Where do we follow you, Winston?
We are on Facebook at mystorymondays.com. We have our YouTube video channels that you would have to search for because I haven't memorized all those random letters. But yeah, if you're interested, definitely go onto our YouTube channel and you can access that through our website, www.mystorymondays.com. Hear what other people have said and then apply to speak. Or come on down with a group of people and check it out live, because it doesn't really matter how much I try to describe it to you. It's totally different when you experience it for yourself.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on, and thanks everyone for listening to Agree or Disagree the podcast. My name is Kevin Olenek, and we will talk to you all soon. Bye for now.